Hello and welcome back to What the Frick podcast. Today I am joined again by a fan favorite, Drea.
Hello everyone. Here we are again in a different room than we were last time.
Very different room. We're in Drea's apartment this time.
Yeah.
But it is now 2023, so I wanted to bring Drea back on the podcast. She had some great stories and great insight from last time, so we're just going to catch up with Drea today and see what she's been up to. So I know the first time we had you on, you had sort of just moved back to Arizona from Oregon, so now you've been here for a couple of months since you moved back. So are you feeling more stable, more secure here now? Like you've kind of gotten back into life, or how are you feeling?
It's been nice to be back and like start my life kind of again. I feel like I was in a little bit of a limbo for a while, so now I feel a lot more confident about, where my life is going. So yeah.
Okay, so on my drive over here to your apartment, I was actually thinking about not how we met necessarily, but how we bonded, which was over our traumas of both being broken up with by the guy that we were seeing. Mm-hmm. And I remember you telling me, because it happened to you first, 3 weeks before it happened to me. Yeah. And I remember you telling me, like, healing is not linear. Yeah. Because I was like, well, when is this going to go away? Yeah. Like, you seemed like you were doing a lot better. And obviously you had it done to you before me. Yeah. But I was just kind of like, how is this ever going to work? And here I am, 7 months past this breakup. And I was still kind of like almost missing him in a way. But it's interesting because when it first happened, I was so sad and confused, and now I can look back and I'm not sad anymore. Still slightly confused, but it's a weird like feeling of longing because I haven't met somebody else since that's like sort of taken away that hurt feeling. And everyone was always like, oh, you'll get over him in like a few months or a few weeks, and it's like it's been 7 months and I'm still not like 100% completely over him. And I kind of realized that I don't think I will be until I meet someone else that like supersedes him, or at least meets what he gave me. And I know you've kind of been talking to someone new, and do you feel like that's helped you with what happened to you 7 months ago?
Yeah, I think obviously I've had like little flings here and there between me and this guy meeting, but I think that I kind of realized maybe like month 5, like when I moved back here, that the moment I spent with him was great, and I learned a lot about what I want in a person and what I feel is important to me. I don't necessarily miss him. I think, I wish the best for him, but I think maybe having someone there to kind of replace him in a way has helped. But also I think I was very much moved on from the situation to the point where I'm like, I honestly, when I did meet the guy that I'm talking to right now, I had kind of made a promise with myself. I don't know. Yeah. I had made a promise with myself. I'm like, okay, like no dating apps, no dating, just like me focusing on my job, focusing on like what I need to do to, become a better therapist, become a better professional. And then kind of like when I wasn't looking, or it just popped in. Yeah, that's how it unexpectedly. Goes. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's a mixture. I think yes, it does help. You get excited about those little things again. Like getting to know each other is very exciting, but also at the same time, I think I wouldn't say I'm necessarily healed completely, but I had definitely been moved on prior to I don't know.
To him?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. Part of me feels very, like, I don't want to say pathetic, because it's, like, not pathetic, but I'm like, how is it? We only were together for 3.5 months. And I'm like, how has it been 7 months. And I'm still like, it's not like an everyday thought, but it's like when I like watch romance movies or like I see other people and like my friends in relationships, I'm just kind of like, oh, like it'd be cool if he was still in my life. But then I remember like, well, I don't want him in my life because he obviously, hurt me and messed things up. But I'm just kind of waiting for that next person to like open my eyes like he had done, because before him it had been like 2 years since someone had done that again.
I think it just takes time. And honestly, with your guy that broke up with you, when I think about the whole situation, I'm like, he doesn't deserve to have someone who will, be supportive or be that person for him. And I hope you find some girl, but like obviously there's certain levels. Like he's at this level right here, and this is the only level he's ever going to be able to give. And there are some girls who are also at this level that that's all they want, or that's all they can give, so they work out. You are right here, you want a certain level of compassion or loyalty or whatever, but he's down here. So no matter if he was with you for 2 months or 5 years, like there's going to be a discrepancy between what you need and what he's willing to give. And I think that's one of the things that I've had to in my past relationships kind of, it's a tough pill to swallow, because you want that person to be your everything. You want that person to want the same things as you and give the same amount that you give in a relationship. But there's only so much that someone can give you, and you want what you want. And I don't think it's a bad thing to want a certain degree of, characteristics in a relationship. So I definitely think that regardless if you would have lasted, 5 more months or 2 years after that, I don't think it necessarily means that it was right for you.
Right.
Yeah.
My mom kept saying, because I would call her like twice a day and be like, I'm
sad.
still sad.
Yeah, I did that with my mom too.
And she'd be like, well, one, you need to get over it. And I'm like, okay, that's terrible advice.
Yeah.
And then she was like, were you in love with this guy? Like, and I was like, no, I wasn't in love with him. I was in love with the potential of him, because he showed me what life could look like if we had continued, moving forward down that path. And I think that's the problem, is like so many girls in these like situationships get like a side of a guy that's like this perfect version of them, and then they like fall for that potential. And then as soon as they start seeing like the other side of them, that's like the hurtful, negative side, it's hard to like differentiate those sides and stick with the, well, he's not good for me side versus the, but he did this for me side. And that's still something I'm still like slowly picking apart.
Yeah. Well, I've been learning more and more that you have to just, people will show you exactly who they are when you meet them. It's a matter of if you're willing to listen and look for those things. And I'm not necessarily saying like, oh, you have to overanalyze every little thing that they do or every little, nitpicky thing. But I think, people are going to show you who they are within the first 3 months of being around. And we were just talking about like the 3-month curse, or like the 3-month, like, period where you kind of just decide, okay, like you've known each other for 3 months. That's, plenty of time to kind of distinguish, okay, is this someone that I can see myself moving forward with, or is this someone that I could live without?
Right.
And some people come to that conclusion faster than others, but people are going to treat you and do things for you the way that they're going to do things for you 2 years down the road. So I don't think it necessarily, I don't want to say it wouldn't have worked out, but I don't think you would have been as happy being single, because I see you being like happy and like in your element. You also been working like crazy, so getting like, you're not going to be able to do that in like 40 years working this crazy. You're going to have kids, husband. So I feel like our 20s are a very misconstrued time, and they're confusing too, because like
so confusing.
so confusing. I have so many friends at this point in life that they've been working for 5 years, they've been dating someone for a couple years. They're like, okay, what's the next thing? I guess we'll get married. And then I have friends who are also having kids, buying homes. And then I'm like, just starting my career. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. But I think in our 20s, we're like made out to have this, perfect life already. I'm like, absolutely not.
No. Yeah.
Absolutely not. I think like we're, at least both of us right now, we're doing the best that we can.
It is. It's hard, and it's so interesting because had I stayed with him, I don't think I would have done as much career-wise as I did do this year, because I like to be very busy, and as soon as that relationship ended, I was like, well, I gotta throw myself into my work, which can be healthy or unhealthy, but I literally just made myself so busy that I couldn't even really have time to think about what happened or what happened to him. And I think that's probably why I'm still 7 months later, like, processing it, because I didn't give myself the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's healthy to give yourself some time to think about it, yourself some time. I'm not gonna lie, I sometimes think about him and be like, I wonder what he's doing, or I hope he's doing good, or I hope he's not doing good. I don't know how you want to perceive it, but like I think about it sometimes, and like it pops into my head. But I also know, like, not to get all woo woo and stuff, but I think everything happens for a reason, and like people come in and out of your life for a reason, and timing. Not to say that timing's everything, but timing helps a lot. Personally, for me, from that relationship, I don't think I was ready to have anything serious. I was studying for my board exam. I think a lot of it had to do with just having something to distract myself other than just studying.
Right.
So, just perspective. I don't know. You can look at it in a negative or a positive way.
Yeah.
You learned something new from this relationship, did you not?
Oh, I definitely did.
More about yourself?
I think, yeah, I learned a lot about myself and a lot about what I do and don't want in, like, the next guy, because I had pictured him as, like, my next serious boyfriend. Yeah. Like, when we had, like, the exclusivity talk and all of that. And so it's like I said, like, all that potential was just, like, thrown away in, like, a day and a half. Yeah. So that was, like, hard to get over. But now it's like, oh, I really liked those qualities that I saw in him, and I liked the way I perceived myself around him. I think that's a big thing. Like, you can't just like the person you're with, you have to like yourself around the person you're with. Yeah,
like you can feel comfortable doing stuff with them. Like, I'm a goofy ass person. Like, if I can't fucking do goofy things with you, then I don't know. Then it's not gonna work. No, it's not gonna work. If we can't watch a Star Wars marathon, then I don't want it.
Okay, well, to transition off of that sad topic, I've been going on a lot of dates lately.
Oh, yeah, I know. I know.
They haven't been bad, but they haven't necessarily been like, oh, yeah, I want to see him again. Like, I'm going to text all my friends type of thing. And I wanted to share with you, like, 5 questions that I ask on every first date. And I only ask this if I actually like the guy and like see it going on like a second or third date. If I don't like them at all, I'm like, this isn't even worth asking. But I've been sharing this with people, and some people think it's controversial, and I'm like, no, I think this is important questions to ask.
In the world that we live in, I think it's better to just get it out of the way. I don't want to know, and like, okay, this is obviously like very future, but like, if I were to marry someone and I don't know what their topic or their opinions on certain topics that are like deemed controversial, then like I don't know you. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I married a stranger. It's like Love is Blind.
It is like Love is Blind. And while some other things can be like seen as controversial or political, it's like if we don't agree on these things, it's like I don't see how we can move forward. Yeah. They're just such a it's like very black and white. Like, there's no really gray area with some of these topics. So like the first question I ask is how they feel about abortion, with it being such a big topic lately in the world with our rights being taken away. I like to know if they're like okay with it, if they're not okay with it. Some people have like told me, oh, like up to a certain point, and then I'll kind of press them for an answer. Like, are you like saying you can carry to full term? And they're like, no. So stuff like that. But I like to know, and if they're pro life, saying like absolutely not, then I may as well just walk out the door.
Yeah, I that has actually been a topic that I've brought up quite frequently within the last, couple years. I think it's more important now than ever. I think that that's a great question to ask. I think that kind of it's more of a respect thing, if anything. And with cis men and heterosexual dating, that is a topic that I believe, I don't know if like maybe the first date, but it has to be brought up eventually, because we are in a day and age where, like, if that were to happen, like, are you going to support me in my endeavors? Are you going to, like, not want to be with me because I make a choice? Why do you have an opinion on what I'm going to do with my body?
Yes.
Like, it's not affecting you. You're not having the baby. I am. I do think that, like, there comes a point with any like pregnancy where you have to make that decision. I think there's a point where it's too late. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
like
full term, maybe not the day before.
not the day before, yeah. No, but like I think previously to all this madness that has happened, I think the law, I don't remember what like the term, how many weeks the baby had to be, or like the fetus. It's not a baby yet.
Right.
It's a fetus.
I forget what the exact timing is now, but like it's just gotten so like the laws are so bunkered down.
Well, the thing is that from a scientific perspective, like there are many women who don't know they're even pregnant by a certain time, like, and I don't think it's fair to put them in jail or like give them a fine for something that they didn't even know was occurring in their body. And like didn't, I have like friends who are, maybe on their second child, and how are they can't afford that. They can't, like, it's like, would you rather have another child put into the foster care system who's not able to be taken care of? There's already thousands and thousands of kids that don't have homes. And I don't necessarily think that taking away someone's right to choose whether or not they can afford a child or can successfully raise a human being is going to help the situation at all. I think it's a good question to have, especially with cis heterosexual dating at this point.
Yeah, and that question kind of answers like how religious they are in a way too. And like I had one guy who immediately was like, well, what do you think? And I was like, I'm not going to answer that until you do. You're just going to tell me what I want to hear. Like, I want your honest opinion, and if I like it, great. If I don't, then I'll walk out.
Yeah.
So it's a hard question, and people are very like, whoa, you're really gonna ask me that? But it's like, yeah, because if you think like it's not okay, then how is this gonna work out?
Yeah.
So, but then my second question's it's still kind of controversial, I guess, to some people, but I mean, it's not controversial at all. It's just like, do you believe in, gay rights and, equality for all? And most men don't have an issue with that, thankfully.
Yeah, I think a lot of men nowadays are like, if it doesn't affect me, it's fine. Like, I think it's also a generational thing. I do, because I work with old people and I talk to them quite often, I think there's a generational gap of like, our generation is a lot more open to that sort of stuff. Like, as long as it doesn't affect them in any way, then like, by all means, go for it. I have that same mentality. I'm like, I don't care. Do you, boo? Like, if you want to marry a man, I have no problem. I'll be at the wedding. I'll be cheering. I'll catch a bouquet if I really want to. Like, it doesn't bother me at all. So I think now it's a little bit different than maybe if you were to date someone in their 60s, which please don't.
Yeah. No. But yeah, so then my third question, and this was only made because of the last guy, but it's basically like, when was your last relationship and how long were you in that relationship for? Because again, the last guy was in like a 5-6 year relationship and was out of it for about a year, which I thought was like a good enough amount of time. But now I'm like, I don't know if that is. So if a guy tells me like, oh yeah, I was dating someone for 3 years and it ended a month ago, it's like a huge red flag versus
Yeah.
someone who's like, oh, I was dating someone for like 6 months and it's been like a year or so. It's like, okay, that's a little bit more. It's like a lot of guys don't process their emotions, and I think I maybe am a guy too now that I think about it, but that's like a question I think needs to be asked, because a lot of them just kind of like, well, it's fine. It's like, no, it's not.
Yeah, I agree with that question. I think it's a good question to have. It also makes you like, is this worth it? Like, is because of what you said of like they take a long time to process things. I think the further away you are from that situation, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not like scarred from it. So it's a good question to have, but I think it's not like the end all be all for me personally.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
good.
it's not the end all be all for me.
I don't know. Maybe I've just been more jaded because I've been with two guys who got out of super long relationships and then like jumped over to me right away. And then I was seeing one guy who, I mean, good for him for being honest, but he straight up he basically admitted that he had messaged me the day that he and his girlfriend broke up. And I was like putting the timelines together in my head, and I was like, wait, that was the day you texted me. And he was like, oh yeah. And I was like, do you see an issue with that? And he was like, well, and I was like, no, I'm done.
Yeah,
I
goodbye.
can't do this. It's an important question for me, but I do think there comes a point where like if they can explain their answer or be like, I'm completely over it in like a good amount of time, then
Yeah.
that's good. But it's definitely one of my top questions.
I think it's a good question to have. I'm not saying it's not. I think it's a good question to have. I don't put like, if I'm weighing the importance of those questions, I'd probably put that one at the bottom tier of questions.
Yeah, I mean, they go in order of like abortion being the most important,
Then
and then gay rights, and then that, and then the fourth question, which you might get a kick out of, just like directly relates to my life. I've realized I don't like guys that are super jealous. So I kind of give them a hypothetical question of, if I'm in Vegas, which I go to quite often, and I am with a group of my girlfriends and we're invited to a table of men, or we're offered free drinks. It's not like I'm being singled out,
Yeah.
or like, I'm being
Yeah.
physically touched. Like, do you have a problem with me and my friends doing these activities that happen a lot in Vegas? And I kind of gauge their answer off of what they say. And I think some of them might be lying, but it kind of tells me right away, like, are you more of the jealous type or not? Because I think having a little bit of jealousy is good, but I dated somebody once who was like just so over the top that I couldn't handle it. So now it's one of my questions.
Oh my god.
I said it's going to be a funny question. That's why it's like ranked fourth. It's
Yeah.
like not most important.
Not most important, but like Ooh, this is funny. Yeah, I think
I've seriously asked people this too.
I know you do. I think I don't know if I would ask that on the first date, but maybe later on, like, oh, like I'm gonna go out with my friends tonight. Maybe we'll get to, I don't know. I don't know if I would ask that. I don't know. I don't know if I want to know if they're jealous.
Well, if you don't want to know their answer, then you wouldn't ask it.
Yeah.
But I think I've just hit a point where I'm like, I need someone that's going to meet this very specific criteria. And like I said, having someone that's not jealous at all is like going to become a problem. It's like, oh, they don't care. But I've also experienced the other side where it's like they care too much that it like makes me feel like I'm being gaslit into like
Yeah.
doing the wrong thing, when really
Yeah.
I haven't really done anything like cheating. I'm just
Yeah.
like having fun. So
Yeah.
that's why I sort of had to throw that question in fourth place. Are there any questions that you ask guys on first dates, or is it just kind of based on their personality or what you're feeling at the time?
First date questions. Oh yeah. For me, exercise is like my entire career and a very important part of like me and my
Yeah.
personality and what I do. So I do ask them like, "Oh, do you go to the gym? Like how many times do you go to the gym?" I know that's bad, but like what do you do at the gym? what are your max weights that you do? No, I don't necessarily ask that, but like I can kind of gauge based on what you look like. But yeah, I think like for me, exercise, and I've dated guys who aren't like super into fitness and stuff, but within the last recent years, I've noticed myself kind of being more attracted to people who are into that, because it's like, okay, I'm at the gym doing my thing and like getting my gains and whatever you want to call it. But if my partner doesn't have a similar like view of exercise, fitness, health and nutrition, then like that's like 50% of who I am as a person. So like I don't have as much in common with them as I would with someone else who like goes to the gym. And I definitely have noticed that within the last couple years I have tend to kind of go towards guys who are more, I want to say meatheads, because like I don't like that. That's fucking no. But like are into fitness. Like I mean, the last couple of guys I've dated, including recent times, have been other physical therapists or personal trainers. So I think that that's pretty important to me.
Is that like a deal breaker though? Like if they were like, I'm not into fitness at all, but they were still like, I don't know, like thin and like healthy looking, would you be like, no?
I think it's a deal breaker for me at this point. I want to be on, I don't want to be like a fitness couple. Like I don't need that, but I need to know that like, I want to be able to go to the gym with you and not feel embarrassed. I'm going to just say it like that. I don't want to go to the gym and be able to lift more than you. I want someone who can lift either equal, if not more weight than me, because I already lift quite heavy weights. So like I need someone who's going to be, I'm sorry, I can't date a chicken wing. Like, no.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because I see on Hinge a lot the prompts will be like, don't go out with me if, and it's like the guy will write, you don't go to the gym, or like you don't exercise. And part of me gets annoyed that they're putting that as their like main prompt.
Yeah.
But then I'm also like, I can see that, like you said, it's like a deal breaker for some people, but I think it's just the way that I'm reading it. It's like coming off like, oh, I only want someone that's like perfect looking.
Yeah.
Whereas you're doing it more as like a health thing.
Yeah, like I went on this fitness journey. It's like anything. It's like a fitness, it's a journey of like I've had high highs and low lows. Like have I had times where I look at myself in the mirror and like I'm like, damn, I've actually gained some weight. I need to like, maybe do something different or whatever. But now I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, like I'm doing this more for holistic benefits. Like, yeah, I want to be able to squat 300 pounds for sure. But I am introducing more yoga into my like fitness stuff. I'm going on more hikes, so more like cardiovascular stuff. I'm doing a triathlon in March.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm doing a triathlon in March. So
I could never.
come yeah, I'll be training like 3 times a week for that half marathon. Oh my God, absolutely not. My triathlon. I'm doing it with a coworker actually, so it'll be fun. But yeah, I think that's kind of like my biggest deal breaker is that. Also, another one is how close you are with your family.
Oh, that is a good one.
Because it's not necessarily like everyone has their own family shit, but I think that I'm really like moderately close with my family. Like I don't talk to them every single day. I call my mom every day, but me and my siblings check in with each other if something important happens. Like we're all very supportive of each other. So if I know that you have a good family dynamic, I feel like it makes it like you don't have any family trauma. I mean, everyone does, but
what if they come from like
adopted family,
or like no, just like a deadbeat mom, like dad left them as a child, but they're like the perfect person. They just like don't have any familial ties whatsoever.
I feel like I would have to dig more deeper into that, just because like you can be an amazing person and like everything, as long as you're doing the work to like like going to therapy.
Right.
To figure out if that affects you at all, because some people are just like, no, this is just how it is, and like I'm fine with it, and like, so I don't know. I think it just depends, but I think it is a good question to ask when dating, for sure.
Yeah. A guy I was talking to sort of recently, like 2 dates with, told me he didn't like talk to his mom at all, and he would like sometimes talk to his dad, and had like this whole trauma story behind it. And I was like, I just can't relate. Like, I'm very close with my whole family, and
Yeah.
I feel like I want someone that's either on like somewhat of a same level, or like even if something's not perfect. But like part of me just like felt bad for him, and part of me was like, well, like, is there like something you can do about it? And like that made me feel bad. It's like, well, you can't change your parents. Like, not everyone grows up with like the perfect mom or perfect dad,
Well, we can all say that.
but
Yeah.
you can't like control that.
Yeah, that's not something you can control. It's a matter of like how you view it, like your perspective on the situation. Because you can make your you can like make friends and close people to be your family. Like, I think it's just all perspective, really, in my opinion. So, yeah, those are my questions that I ask. Other than like the other ones we talked about.
Okay, well, this has already been a very long episode, so I'm gonna split this into 2 parts, just like I did for last time Drea was here. If you haven't already listened to the episode from last time, she tells some pretty funny stories, so go give that a listen. But come back next week, and we're gonna be playing some games and just discussing what we usually discuss, which is why men don't know how to be real people. So come back and get even more insight and more education on that conversation. But thank you again, Drea, for coming on today.
Of course, my pleasure. I'm always an open book, as they say. And I love having podcasts with you. Podcast time.
I know, it's so fun, and we have a lot of controversial conversations. So come back next week and join us for some fun games.
All right.